Hey everyone, and welcome to Ink Spotlights from Comix Wellspring. This is the series where we shine the spotlight on immensely talented creators who print with us. And today we're joined by John Burkett, creator of Feral Star. I'm super hyped to talk to him. I can't wait for you guys to learn more about him and his work. You've seen him on Spilled Ink with us. John, hello. Thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell the audience all about what you do?
Okay, well, thanks, Brandon, for inviting me on your show. I've been looking forward to this for a while. So my name's John Burkett, and I'm a comic creator based in Portland, Oregon. I have a background in art going back many years, but I only started making comics about 5 years ago during the pandemic. So, I of course, like everybody my age, like everyone in high school that was interested in comics was making comics way back then. And I think I was making comics probably in junior high, but just a little bit of history. Of course, when you're making comics coming out of high school and you're looking to kind of pursue that interest in college, back then at least, there wasn't really an opportunity to study comics. And so, I did end up going down like a fine art path, which was great, and it was something I was interested in. So I took painting and art history and did that for many years. Taught painting, drawing courses at community ed and colleges and art institutes on the East Coast for a while, and and then I think like comics were something that were always in the back of my mind. I was always kind of interested in comics and comics language, and even about 20 years ago when I was just coming out of grad school, I was kind of reintroduced to things that I hadn't been exposed to when I was first into comics, like some of the more indie stuff. And Scott McCloud's book was really important to me. So I always was interested in that comics language and comics craft, even though for a long period of time it wasn't necessarily what I was doing with my own artwork. But I think eventually what happened was it's like I was mostly painting abstract painting, and I missed the storytelling. And so comics was the way I could kind of combine my art and storytelling, and so when the pandemic hit and I found myself with some extra time on my hands, I said, well, maybe this is the time, to kind of give it a shot. So I started working on Feral Star and just never lost momentum. So here I am.
Dude, that's awesome. I mean, there's so many cool things to unpack right there real fast too. Like, I always love hearing people like you and Jade Louder who, studied art and went into fine arts and then went into comics because I think, just studying art in general and studying the craft beyond comics kind of opens you up to different things all across. And do you feel like because of that route, because of what you were doing, made you a better comic book artist and storyteller by going through those, the trials of school and education and pushing yourself in different directions of art and then swooping into comics?
I think so, because I think that on one level you kind of you have to be disciplined in such a way that you can find time to work in the studio outside of, like, for me, I've had a 9 to 5 job for most of the time that I've been making art. And so just on a sort of time management level and a studio discipline level, that is definitely something you need to have, whether you're doing fine arts or comics. And I think also just I'm a little bit of an egghead. It's like I really kind of geeked out on those, just coming through a college art program and reading a lot of art theory. I think books like Scott McCloud's book was a great bridge for me, because I could really start to appreciate comic craft on another level.
Yeah.
Something I didn't really have, I had How to Draw Comics the Marvel way back when I was in high school, but it obviously didn't have the sort of depth of inquiry and possibility that Scott McCloud's book did for me at that time. So it was really important for me to find that book. So I think that answers your question. It's like there's definitely aspects and habits and things that are necessary for whatever field of art you find yourself in. So
I think that discipline part is so vital too, and it's hard to crack that. Discipline and consistency are like the two main things you need as an artist, no matter what route. If you're writing, if you're drawing, doing anything, but if you could figure out the balance between how to do that, be disciplined, be consistent, and then still survive your day to day, and still pursue art. That's like what it's all about. Because as long as you're showing up, that's really 90% of the work. I feel like that's just
Absolutely.
showing up.
Yep. Yeah. And I think you also have to be realistic with yourself. And I think that was something that I struggled with for a long time. Is I had kind of unrealistic goals as to what I could make and produce with the time that I had. And when I started working on Feral Star, I just had to just realize, okay, this is going to take a long time for me to figure out, first of all, how to do this thing, and to sort of to finish that initial story. It took me, when I first started working on Feral Star, I was working the 9 to 5. My day job was working in public library,
Cool.
and it took me uh, just over a year to do 16 pages. So, but then again, it's like I'm also like a fussy noodler. So I put a lot of ink on the page. So, but it's the look that I wanted for my story.
That's a
Uh,
gorgeous look too, by the way. If people who haven't
oh,
checked out Pages, like it's super, super rad. I got such Future Shocks 2000 AD vibes, like very 70s, 80s. So I think the work you put into it definitely paid off on that time scale, like hands down.
thanks. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's absolutely where my influences were coming from. Is old EC comics, 2000 AD. Artists who could really communicate with just black and white. Like I've done very few color stories, and I wanted to be able to sort of speak that black and white language that Wally Wood and all those Brian Bolland and Mick McMahon and all those artists that I really like um, could do successfully. So that's who I was looking at, and that's the direction I was going in with that. But yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to get those pages made, and I just had to be okay with that and realize this is what it's going to take to make the book I want to make. So
I mean, and that's indie comics right there for you, is just like figuring out how to fit into your life and just getting it done. A lot of us, we're not getting paid to do this our day job, and we can't really sacrifice much of the day job to like go part-time or not work for a while to do this type of artwork. So just getting it done is all that matters. And I think that encouraged me a whole lot, because when I was getting into comics, I felt like I was, like a lot of people, you feel like you're too late. And then you're like, oh, it doesn't matter when you start or get it done. It's just that you got it done. Like you just need to finish. I mean, the main thing that most creators tell is like, just finish telling your story. And if you do that, you're going to be in a good place. And it sounds like that's the route you're on right now.
yeah, absolutely. Again, yeah, just to reiterate, it's like they say perfect is the enemy of good, and get something finished as opposed to like trying to make it perfect.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's the best advice you can kind of give anyone who's going down this path is just finish something and move on.
Yeah.
Finish something else and move on. Just make those goals for yourself, and you'll see over time that your work's going to get better. You're going to communicate more clearly with your storytelling. It's all going to happen. Just don't get too deep in the weeds with making it look something that may be outside of your ability at the time. Just finish and move on.
Because you'll get there once you can prove you can finish something too. And I totally understand that more and more, especially doing Spilled Ink every single week, because there's times on the show where I'm like, I do not like what's coming out right now, but I'm only like 20% into my drawing. And then even like the 70-80% of it, I'm just like, I kind of want to quit. This is not turning out great. But if you get to that finish line to the point of like, oh wow, I like this. This is dope. I'm glad I didn't stop. You'll be surprised on the outcome. And it's just all about like just push through until you feel it and it's done. And then you'll actually probably be quite surprised on that outcome. And it's totally natural to hate it from 5% to like 90%. And then once you get to that 90, you're probably going to start really like finding the little tweaks to tighten it up and be done.
Right. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that 70, 80%, because I think it was a conversation I was having with Ron Randall, who, he did the Trekker books, and he's been a comic artist for like 30, 40 years, however long. But he's also a Portland based comic
Oh,
artist. And I'll talk a little bit about the studio later, but yeah, he mentioned, I think he said like 70% of perfect is good enough.
yeah, no,
So if you feel
honestly.
like you're 70% there, it's good enough. Your audience is going to dig it. So just move on. But yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. And so, I mean, Feral Star, you're on the first issue. Are you working on what's your vision for the series? Are you looking to do like 6 issues? Are you trying to do like one shots? What's your intention for it?
So I did a zero issue. That was the first issue. And at first it was a mini comic that
Mhm.
I got into some local shops. Floating World, the folks there were really great about, putting it on their shelves. And I had a really positive experience there. So I was kind of encouraged to continue to, take it other places like, Cosmic Monkey here in Portland. And yeah, so, and Portland has a great comic culture anyway, but I just felt like it was very welcoming um, and then so I was distributing it as a mini comic and shipping them out all over the country and on mostly on consignment, which I don't really want to do anymore because it's too much to keep track of.
It's a
Uh,
lot, yeah.
but I did that for a while, and then it was for the first IC3 that I did, a legitimate comic book size comic that I printed through Comix Wellspring, just for that first IC3. Um, and at that time, I think during the first IC3, the Indie Comics Creator Con, I was about 12 or 16 pages into issue one.
Oh, cool.
And at that time, I was envisioning it to be a 3 or 4 part story. And I had already worked with uh, Eli Schwab through Cosmic Lion Productions with the Ghost Agents
Oh,
anthologies that I
yeah.
contributed to, and asked him, "Hey, would you be interested in publishing issue one of Feral Star?" And he said, "Yeah." And so we debuted issue one of Feral Star at Rose City Comic Con here in Portland, 2024.
Nice.
It was picked up for distribution through Diamond in December and should be in shops, those that purchased it, in like next week, I think.
Oh, cool.
So Feral Star 1 should be in shops. If everything goes according to the plan, and according to how it's advertised on the previews, it should be in shops next week. And I've scripted out the next 2 issues, and I've done the storyboards or the thumbnails for issue 2. So hopefully, my plan is to have issue 2 ready for the next Rose City Comic Con in September. But we'll see.
Yeah,
I
dude.
usually end up doing it a little bit slower than I plan, but that's the goal right now, to have issue 2 ready for that. So
That's so exciting. And honestly, just getting through those issues and making those milestones means so much, and just that progress. It's slow and it's a slow burn, but once it's done, it's more so exciting to like jump into the next part too. I feel like we work on these books for so long, and once it's complete and in print, you're excited and you're like, "Whoa, time to go into the next thing," and then you're just focus shifts right away. What conventions do you have lined up this year? It sounds like Rose City. It sounds like IC3. Do you have anything else that you're lined up or trying to get into right now?
yeah, I haven't locked down Rose City yet because they just opened up their applications, and that's in September.
Oh, cool.
But that's my hometown con, so I'm hoping to do that. But yeah, it's March. I'll be at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, which I'm really looking forward to. It's I think it's the third largest convention in the country. And then the following weekend is IC3 in New Haven, Connecticut. And I'm really looking forward to going back and seeing everybody again. And it looks like it's going to be even bigger and better this year.
Hmm.
The first year, we really didn't know what was going to happen, other than it just being, a bunch of us getting together that maybe had only met online with our projects, and finally seeing each other face to face. And like if people will show up to buy stuff, that's cool too. But we didn't expect much, but it ended up being, I feel, a huge success.
Oh yeah, it was a
Like
blast. It was
everyone that showed up was so into comics and indie comics and willing to like pick up your books, and so I had a great time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this year's in IC3 is like. And then yeah, I'm going to be at Heroes Con in
cool.
June. And I think at this point, the only other one I've locked down, there's a 1 day show in Tacoma, which I think is great. It's called Grit City Comic Show, which is still like a comic creator sort of centric show in Tacoma, and I'm doing that one as well. So
Oh,
yeah, I've
sick.
got a few lined up, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, dude, that's so exciting. I love hearing how busy you are, how active you are, and all these opportunities opening up for you. And, being part of the Cosmic Lion team is such a fun reward, too, because that entire lineup of creators are, we always bring them on the show because they're all just so much fun and just like great people. And on IC3 and hanging out with them at Heroes, it's always a blast. So I can't wait to see you there. I can't wait to hang out in person. It's going to be such a fun time. Even if I don't know, if maybe we met last year at IC3. It was such a blur.
Yeah,
I
no, I think I remember you there. It was either the Friday night or before the show, or the Saturday evening after the show, because I got a copy of your comic,
Oh,
and
cool.
you were handing them out. So I was
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah, I'll
was
take
just
that.
trying to give it for free
Um,
to everybody I could. Yeah,
but I think we all had our like noses in our sketchbooks drawing that night. So,
yeah.
but yeah, there was a lot of people with that. That was fun.
Nice, dude. Well, I can't wait to see you. I'm so happy you got to step into the spotlight and talk to us on the
Yeah.
show. We'll definitely bring you back on Spilled Ink very soon. And it sounds like there's so much to talk about craft wise that I want to crack open with you regarding, painting and, even our conversation before we went on air right now. It's so much fun talking about that type of stuff, materials and just everything art wise. So we definitely got to get you in a long form version just to talk about your journey and everything, to get more insight. But thank you for your time and joining us on the spotlight today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely. We can talk anytime. I'm definitely down for talking craft.
And real quick, why don't you just shout out your socials and where people could find you and where they could find Feral Star #1 outside of their comic book shop where they can order it.
Yeah, so I am on Instagram, John Burkett Studio. I have a website, johnburkettstudio.com, where you can, right now, I should say, like, I have commissions are open. If you're going to be at IC3 or East or Emerald City Comic Con, you can find a link on my website to a special deal I have for commissions for those shows to pick up in person. But you can find, if your shop didn't pick up Feral Star 1, I think you can still have them purchase it now. I think even though it was solicitation in December, you can still go to your shop and ask them to order it, if I understand how it works correctly. But if not, you can pick it up directly from the Cosmic Line website, cosmiclineproductions.com, and buy it there.
Awesome. Great. John, thank you so much. And we'll hang
Thank
soon.
you.